Do you know when to stop talking? Sharon Horne-Ellstrom here. Welcome to day 114 of our Super Size You annual challenge. And we're focusing on communication all this month. So today's topic is using silence as the powerful tool that it is. Do you tend to ask yourself a couple of questions quickly, and then we'll dive right into this because it's such a great topic. One I learned partially a long time ago, and I realized just as I was preparing for this little discussion that I have really slipped off the tracks when it comes to pausing, letting people talk more, especially with the timing on social media, with the timing on different recorded media, since we meet actually remotely almost all the time now as humans. We don't get together in real life as much as we used to. Since thank you COVID pandemic, I find that the timing of talking and responding, I need to give it a much longer pause online because there is that delay in technology depending on how good your connection is, etc. I had that experience yesterday evening, and I was like, oh, we keep talking over each other, and that just was because of the timing. Not that we don't respect one another, but it reminded me I need to check the technology and take a bigger pause. Are you somebody, and I guess I didn't think I was, but I totally am recently, somebody that over-explains, over-talks, shares too much, maybe, yeah, or over-communicates in certain situations? What type of situations do you find yourself doing that in? I'll share a couple of examples. When I'm excited about the person I'm talking to, I tend to rush in and over-explain, over-talk, share too much, share more than is absolutely necessary to communicate the message that I want to communicate. And that's what this month is all about, is how do we dial our messages in and ask the right questions, provide the right amount of information. But then when we ask somebody a question, especially when we ask somebody a question, pause, let them think for 30 seconds before they respond. Don't expect them to respond right off the bat. And if you ask them a question, I'm talking to myself here, right? If I ask a question, I have to give them time to formulate what they want to respond and say about that, especially if it's deeper work and a deeper question or something that really hits home or hits you in your heart or your gut. Sometimes I'm very direct and I will ask a really direct question. And that's the time I know that I need to pause and really let the person think about it or consider it. Or they can say, hey, what makes you think you can ask me that? Well, I'm your coach. I should ask you that, right? That's why we coach people. We hold them accountable to what they say they want to do. And we hold ourselves accountable to the same standard or much higher. So do you ever do that? Ask yourself that and just think about it as we talk about this topic. Strategic silence is so powerful. I learned this lesson actually probably as a kid, but in corporate America for sure, when we were involved in negotiations. And it served me really well when I was in corporate America and negotiating my own salary. I don't know where I picked it up, but somebody said as I was preparing for my interviews, don't say a number first. Whoever says a number first loses. And in my first job, I didn't say a number, and I got the highest paying offer out of the university that I graduated from, of all of the people, both male and female, which was super exciting for me at the time. And I learned that, if I just can count to 5 in my head and not say anything first, I might have a better opportunity than I think I do. And my next job was the same way. In addition to doubling my salary, more than doubling my salary, I got more than my starting salary in a signing bonus, a mid 5-figure signing bonus, which was incredible at the time. And if anybody wants to know the amount, just direct message me. I just feel uncomfortable sharing amounts, especially when they're things that most people can't even imagine in videos. Why? Because I don't want to overshare. I want to pause and let people know each of our journeys is different. And then confident communication embraces silence. When we rush in, when we say too much, when we yap and talk too much, is anyone else guilty of that besides me? Yes, we probably all are in different situations. We actually look insecure. We look like we don't know what we're talking about. I would guarantee that if I go back and watch even my videos from a month ago, I talk too much and too fast and too loud and too much everything. But that's kind of who I am and kind of what my personality is. I tend to overshare, but that's because I want you to know that I am an open book when it comes to how do we become a better version of ourselves. It's a journey I've been on since my sudden cardiac arrest, and I don't see ever jumping off that journey, because I think it's actually my heart's purpose, and my purpose is to help people know that we just need to embrace who we are and build upon that to create the life that we want. So what are we going to do today for an action item? I like to have an action item every day to reinforce what I'm learning and talking about, or what today's subject is. And so we're going to practice pausing today. We're going to practice strategic silence, meaning if we ask someone a question, and that's in our everyday life most often what happens. We're usually not asking somebody to do business with us, or we're not usually, sometimes we might be asking them to join a committee or volunteer for something, which is a big ask. I don't care what anyone says. If you think that asking people to volunteer their time and energy to something isn't the biggest ask you can have, which is the sale, right? Everything is an exchange of value, which is a sale. And I know I personally have some fear around selling and sales and selling. And mostly it's all founded in totally ridiculous false beliefs. And I'm actually in a community where I'm learning to just let those false beliefs go, understand where they came from. And what the most fascinating thing about that kind of work that we do on ourselves in personal development is we realize that a lot of the things that we do and say and are carrying around have nothing to do with us, and their beliefs and thoughts and opinions that we've adopted from other people, a lot of which we're not even aware that we are doing it, or that we have adopted those thoughts and beliefs and feelings from other people. That's why it's so important to pay attention to who you hang around with, who you spend your time with, what you spend your time feeding your mind and your soul and your heart. So today we are going to simply, here I have a magnifying glass. We are going to ask on a scale of 1 to 10, how comfortable are you with silence in your communication? On a scale of 1 to 10, 1 being not comfortable at all, 10 being I use silence to my benefit and to the benefit of the conversation and the other person all the time. I think I might have asked, but I don't know if I did. How often do you reflect back what you heard the person say? And how often is it right on, or does the person need to make a correction? That's when you really need to pause, so that you really understand what it is that they're there for, what the communication, what's the purpose and the intent of the communication. What do they need? How can I help? Do they need help? Etc. So share in the comments below your rating on a scale of 1 to 10. And we all rate ourselves differently, so just take that with a grain of salt. If you see a bunch of people with 10s in there, I'm going to challenge those, because I'm totally not a 10. I'm more like a 6 when it comes to being comfortable with silence, especially if it's tied to a super emotional topic for the other person. If the other person has had a big emotional experience with the thing we're talking about, that's when I get a little nervous, and I tend to overshare, overtalk, and forget to pause. So my new rule today is I ask a question, I take a calming breath, and then I count to 5 in my head, and then, I don't go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, to give the other person time to respond in the way they want, or instead of reacting, is I guess what I'm getting at here. All right, love to know how you deal with pauses and silence in your conversations and in your communication. Share in the comments below so we can learn from one another. Go out, make it a fantastic day, and I will, of course, be with you tomorrow. Bye. Let me know if I can help.